Just a bloke in a bar.
What is up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome to another episode of Bloke in a Bar, brought to you, powered by Bloke Beer, the best beer in all the land, the beer of Australian sport. It's beer for blokes that turn up for your family, mates, and good times. Make sure to get down to your local independent liquor store, grab a case of Bloke. If they're sold out, just ask politely, hey, could you order some Bloke beer in? They should be able to get some in. We're in every single Liquor Legends. We're in every single Bottle-O, IGA Plus Liquor, celebrations in New South Wales and Queensland. With that all out of the way, I've got the great Roasty, the NRL Roast here, also known as Dean to loved ones.
No, they start calling me Roasty.
Oh, okay, so fair enough.
My wife doesn't talk to me, so it's all good.
Mate, well, for people that don't know, but most people do, it's the NRL Roast, the creator of the NRL Roast, on Instagram, Facebook, on X now, Twitter, formerly known as Twitter. Create, really, really good content, really fun content and engaging content, especially for this next generation coming through to rugby league. But, mate, how you been?
Mate, I'm just a tad nervous. You can't tell. No, I actually am. Like, I couldn't sleep last night. Like, I get really nervous when I have things like this and speaking engagements and stuff like that. But hopefully it'll come across all right. But no, I'm well. Thank you very much for having me on.
You've got your own potty, don't you?
I do, yeah. We got started. I've had it different sort of iterations over the years. Yeah, done some stuff with Hemi in the past.
The great Hemi
Goodman, and just done some player interviews and also interviews with people outside of football.
Yep,
but have a connection to it, whether it's fans or like we've done some WWE superstars as well. So it's been good, and then doing some stuff with Donny Sports lately. So we're just chatting shit and. Trying to find an avenue that people aren't doing yet. It's hard, but there's so many podcasts out there, especially around NRL. But just trying to find something a little bit different and have our sort of type of humour as well in it. So,
it's interesting, especially in Australia, because you can look to America and go, oh, well, they do this, but the cultures are so different. Yep. So, like, you might create content that, let's say you copied Barstool TV one for one. It actually, I don't think it would hit here. I don't think Australian, like Aussies, even though they're Aussies that like Barstool TV, I think the mainstream audience, they want the Australian version of that, not the American version of that. And because Australia, podcasting hasn't been around for that long, it's not that hard to look at something and go, all right, that's the direction, or this is direction. Obviously, outside your obvious things of like reviewing NRL games, interviewing people. But outside of that, it's almost like a broad template that no one really knows yet.
Yeah. Well, that's what we actually started doing, like a little bit of a rundown. Like they used to do the rundown. And it's hard being remote, but even back in the early days of Barstool, they used to do it via Zoom. And, that's how they build it up. So if we can sort of pinch a little bit of that and do it in a bit of an Aussie way and just our humour as well. So bring that. And I even like the Hello Sport guys, they're a bit of a big cat and PFT, and their show, they have that cockiness and arrogance and a little bit in a good way. I'm not bagging them.
Well, it's said ironically.
Yes, and Australian audiences are starting to come around to that. Before, it used to be just you had to be humble, you had to be, don't talk yourself up too much and that. But they're starting to change it, and I think eventually we'll get there in that way. But it'll take time.
Yeah, it is interesting to see how the landscape is going to change, because this generation coming through consuming content have fully been involved in American content.
Yep.
So it's like our generation, we were aware of it. It was kind of we always follow it, like 5-10 years behind, but we weren't fully immersed in it via the internet. Well, I mean, I was, because I was on the internet, but most kids that are around 30 years old, 30 years old, weren't fully immersed in it. Whereas, like, you get a guy like Reece Walsh or whatever, like, that's all he's consumed probably.
Correct, yeah.
is American, kind of sport or content. So it's going to be interesting, because we'll obviously keep our Australian culture because it's so strong, but it'll be interesting how that kind of, we have our version of that, and whether what will hit, what won't hit. Like, for example, a perfect guy. If you took Dave Portnoy and just brought him to Australia, would he hit? I don't know.
He hits with a bit of a niche audience now, and sort of like the underground cool club. But he might just come across as an arrogant American, right?
Yeah, so I'm rich and I'm this. Yeah. Whereas like in America, that's like, it's celebrated to celebrate how good you are or whatever. It'd be really interesting, and also vice versa. Like if we took Matty Johns to America, I wonder how. Look, I'm backing Matty Johns in, to be honest, but I wonder how that would Americans would respond to his kind of humour. Really interesting.
Yeah, it'd be good sort of like, what do they call it? Like a test subject sort of thing to do. Like, Crocodile Dundee back in the days, it took off. But we have a few Australians over there doing big and stuff. But it'd be good to see someone like Matty Johns try and do it. Hey, Vegas is coming up.
Yeah, I mean, I think they are going over there now to do some content.
Yeah, right.
And then they're going to go back over there later. Another guy is it McAfee or whatever?
Pat McAfee.
McAfee. He's massive in America.
Yep.
I reckon, I haven't seen that much of him, to be honest, but from the little clips I've seen, I reckon he probably would make it, like he would be relatable in Australia to a degree.
So during COVID, when NRL and AFL were the only sports sort of getting back up and running, he got behind AFL.
Oh,
and
really?
Started commentating and he got behind, I think, the Collingwood Magpies.
Yeah.
And everyone loved it here. Everyone loved his takes on it. And so I think a guy like him, but he's very humble. He's not arrogant in a way. He's very expressive, but he's not look at me, and stuff like that. Like you Dave Portnoy and stuff like that. So I think he'd take off. There would be some that could cross over.
Yeah.
But yeah, and even like you go back 10 years, like pay TV wasn't as big as what it is now. There wasn't as many sports you get. You couldn't get like NBA Game Pass and League Pass, NFL, maybe probably 15 years ago, wasn't that huge here. It's now starting to take off. You have more access to more sports and more of that American culture. Even like you would have, when you spoke about the Jackson Hastings, he's a massive proponent of the names and numbers on the back of jerseys, right?
Yeah.
So many negative comments about that, like tradition, you can't change it, right? I'm like, everyone does it. And it's a good way of like getting that, a little bit of American culture, but still keeping our, Australian thing. So, and letting the players build themselves up and create a brand. So, but the amount of negative comments on that shows that we've still got a little bit to go before we can have it take over.
Yeah, man. Could you imagine if you took some of the athletes from America and you just put them in Australia and they talk the way they talk in America?
Yeah.
They'd get crucified in Australia. Because, look, and to be fair, I am very proud of Australia's. Look, I understand tall poppy. I don't like that. Like, I don't like chopping people down. But I do like the fact that Australia tries to keep people humble.
Yep.
I think it's a good thing, not a bad thing. But I don't like tall poppy syndrome. So I'm not sitting here going, we should chop everyone down. But at the same time, I wouldn't want, like, put it this way. Let's say Reece Walsh does a pass and there's like a semi-line break. And then he's pumping the crowd, going, I'm the man. Because that's what happens in NFL. Like, they do the tiniest thing and they're carrying on. I don't like that shit. That shit is like, bruh, just get your head in the game.
Yeah.
So it is going to be a balance, eh?
You look at like the Panthers, like how much shit they've got over the last few years for all their supposed arrogance of just celebrating.
I understand they have a little bit of swagger about them and the celebrating and that. I don't think they're that bad.
No.
I really don't. As I said, a bit energetic, bit of swagger, and at the Broncos we were always taught put the ball down and just put your head down and walk back. But even this is a team that literally beat my team in the grand final, heartbreaking.
Yeah,
I really don't think they're that bad.
I like it. I love to see that. I'm a huge American sports fan, so I like that sort of stuff.
Yeah,
and
you're a WWE fan as well. So
I'm massive wrestling, so that's big pomp guys, pumping themselves up.
The theatrics of it all.
Yep.
Yeah.
So, I love, if they can bring that in, like, when they have the tri celebrations and stuff like that, and massive amount of exposure on that. You love seeing those. What can they come up with?
I do love sports bets. Try July.
Yeah,
it's fucking
it's
so
massive.
Good.
So, just love seeing the players get involved in that and just expressing themselves. Like, and when we go, oh, that's a charity, and they donate money to charity, it's all good.
Yeah.
But it's like, if they did that outside of it, they're
no
arrogant.
Good.
Yeah, it's no good. I think, like, I suppose it's like Australia's culture of we're always the underdog, so we should be humble. We should be, when we're playing on the international stage, we're a small country playing against the big dogs.
Yeah. And
we shouldn't be talking ourselves up too much because, we're small. So, but yeah, hopefully things change.
Yeah, and to just further that, like, because we are a smaller nation, we need, blokes fully putting the team before themselves.
Correct. Yeah.
And so that buy-in, that's where the value comes from. The humbleness is like going, okay, my personal feelings don't matter, or what I want to do. What is what's the environment? The environment is you stay humble, you put the team first, and it seems to work when you really compare. I think like New Zealand's probably the best per capita sports country in the world when you actually look at the numbers. But outside of that, we'd be up there. Surely Australia's up there as one of the best sporting nations in the country.
Yeah, well, I suppose a lot of sport, like cricket's massive internationally, but then soccer, is one of the biggest sports in the world. We're getting up there as well, but cricket, that's played by billions as well. So we're up there in that. But a lot of the other sports that we play are rugby league, AFL, just played here. So it's
but per capita, even soccer, we're doing pretty well.
Yeah.
Per capita,
100%. Yeah.
And that's where even like when we were good at union, jeez, fucking can't believe
those days.
Oh my god, so we were one of the best in union. Then obviously we've got cricket, who were dominant as anything in early 2000s. That's hectic.
Yeah, if you're a fan of Australian sport in the late 90s, if you're lucky enough to be there, you were just loving life.
Yeah, absolutely. So, mate, how's the off-season been for you? You've had an opportunity to have a few beers and relax, or what?
Yeah, I have been. Like I said, a bit nervous, but I know that not many people have had cracked a beer on your show. So
okay.
I'm like, to calm the nerves, there's what's some of the best beers? There's the airport beer, the after mowing the lawn beer. There's nothing better than a 9
There's a wake up after a big night and just have another beer.
Just have another one. So it's like the 9 a.m. beer. So I'll do that. So here you go.
Okay, there we go. See, this is why it says by a fan for the fan on the NRL Roast on his page. Truly by a fan for a fan. Oh, he's nailed it. Beautiful. There you go.
Later.
Hopefully it doesn't tip you over the edge where I see you in a pub at 11 a.m. just kicking on.
Catching up with Guru later, so hopefully I might kick a few into him.
Oh, the great Rude. Mate, what do you think? Where do you think rugby league is at right now? Do you think it's in the best space it's been? Obviously, there's always room for improvement, but even from a content perspective, but also from a product perspective of the actual game, where would you see the lay of the land? The lay of the land.
Look, from a content perspective, we've certainly grown over the last sort of 5 years, I suppose, 5 to 10 years. I remember when I first started, there was really hard to get some content out there. There was always obstacles in copyright laws and things like that from a general content creator. But the last 5 years definitely eased up. You see so much more content out there. You're seeing it on a lot more bigger pages, especially international. So SportsCenter will show a massive hit or a great effort in a trial or whatever. So we're getting our name out there more internationally, and it shows with what they're doing with Vegas as well. So I know people are just give it up. All the naysayers are it's no use promoting it internationally, but I think there's definitely an avenue there because they've got massive sports in America that like the NFL, but if you don't make it professionally, there's so many players that just go about doing nothing, and there's definitely a talent pool that we could, grow the game there as well. So I like where we're at. Definitely room for improvement, but I wouldn't say we're bad or anything like that. I think the way we're going is good.
Yeah.
Despite the media has a role when it comes around media rights time. They'll start talking down the game to lower the price and things like that. That's just tactics. So if you're smart enough, you can see past that. And I think overall, I love where we're at. I don't think the product on the field is good. There will always be complaints. There will always be issues with technology and things like that. But, if we didn't have it, people would be calling for it.
Yeah.
Have it, people don't want it. You can never get it right. Yeah. So, but I personally love watching the game. I watch, try and watch every single minute of every game. But
yeah,
I like where we're at.
Yeah, it's even the Vegas thing. Obviously, depending how much it costs, as long as we can break even financially, it's a massive win. Even if you're not considering exposure overseas and you're just considering what's more exciting, Vegas round 1 for the NRL or a split round for the AFL right now. If you're just a normal fan that's going to, it's Vegas. The Vegas hype has made the AFL react and split around to try and get some eyes in Brisbane and that. So as I said, as long as financially we break even or even a tiny loss, I reckon it's absolutely worth it.
They split the round. I laugh at the AFL. They split the round and taking games to Brisbane and Sydney, but there's still games there. Like there's still NRL games on that weekend.
Yeah,
it's like you're not going to win.
And all you've done is taken away from your own round one.
Yeah, there's plenty of people buying up saying like, what happened to their traditional Friday night game or Thursday night game to open the round? There's always traditional rivals that play that weekend, and then now they've lost that. So they're breaking away from tradition as well. So
I don't. It doesn't make any sense to me. Like. Do you really think you're going to pick up so many fans that it's worth pissing off the fans that are die-hard tradition? Like, I think that it's, and we probably shouldn't be talking AFL because we don't know as much as we could know, but like, I feel like it's an out-of-touch decision.
Yep.
Because I don't think they've really appreciated, like, this is ritual for tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of people. Like, genuine, their year revolves around this is when I watch this game at this stadium or on TV or whatever.
Like they've got, their season ticket holders that are like, get ready for game one, round one every year.
Yeah.
And now they can't. They've got to wait an extra week and watch it on TV or whatever. Yeah. And even like you look at they have the gather round in Adelaide. I think they played at like 3 or 4 separate grounds.
Yeah.
And one of them could only hold like 15,000 people. And you've got Magic Ground, which is mate, you stay down the road, go to the Caxton, go to the footy, come home. Like it's so easy. It's so much better. Every single game at the same round.
Was that a Greenberg initiative? The Magic Round? I think it was. Yep. What an absolute home run that's been.
Yeah. So it was like, what is it, Magic Weekend or something, or from the UK Super League originally.
Yeah.
So it's not an original idea, but it's a good initiative to do it. And I swear, like, it's got to stay. I'm a proud New South Welshman, but it's got to stay in Brisbane.
It's got to stay in Brisbane. Like, why? This is one thing we don't do well in rugby league. We get something great, and we want to fucking change it. It's just like keep it. There is no other place that I can think of that is set up perfectly to have a Magic Round. Because like even you look at the area that like certain stadiums are at. Like let's say you want to do it in Sydney, what you can do it at Core. Who is going to go around and sit at a Core? Whereas in Brisbane, Suncorp, you can literally. You don't even need to go into the ground.
No.
You can just walk around and have beers and that and watch it on the big screen.
You're literally like 5 minutes away from the ground.
Yeah.
So if you didn't even want to watch that game, you could go on Saturday, watch the first game, leave, go back to the Caxton, have a few skewies, go back and watch the second game, or watch the third game or whatever it is, or even just go back at half time. If you just want to break, get out of there.
Mate.
But until they have, like, I think they sell out. They've sold out last year. But until they get a full crowd, like every year consistently, then maybe talk about moving it. But yeah, agree. I wouldn't take it to a Core. There's no other stadium that would hold. That's a perfect stadium for. It's great viewing everywhere.
It's the transit getting in is good. Like it's perfect. It's literally built for it. And this idea, honestly, I think that if you took it like to Adelaide or Melbourne or even definitely New South Wales, I just don't think you'd sell as many tickets.
100% not.
Because like at the end of the day. Yes, there's more people in New South Wales, but at the end of the day, like Queensland love rugby league more than New South Wales. Queensland fans anyway, I think anyway, personally. So I just don't know whether you're going to have as much reaction. And look, people fly in, I get all that. But like, I don't think you'd get the same pop from a Sydney crowd as you would from a Brisbane crowd for rugby league Magic Round.
Even like, we go there as a boys' weekend and look forward to it every year. Like we're booking it as soon as the dates are announced and stuff like that. But even if I wanted to take it's a great family event. Like we go there and just stay at the Caxton, move to the ground, back to the Caxton, back and forth all weekend. But even if I want to take the family there, it's a great area for it. There's plenty to do. There's plenty to see and stuff to do. So just please keep it there.
Oh, it's such a good weekend. Far out, it's such a good weekend.
So good.
So how'd you get into content, or not even content? What was it like growing up for you in regards to your love for rugby league? Where did you have your first kind of like, fuck, I love this game?
Probably the first time I played rugby league. I grew up in a small country town, Forbes, out in the Central West, and never played it like you play backyard footy and stuff like that, but never played it competitively until sort of late in my primary school years. Played my first game in Parks down the road. They had this festival. I remember Scott Goulet, St George great. He come out and ran a festival of footy for everyone, and so we took a team over from there. And I just remember seeing this guy, and he was like 7 foot tall, massive, huge shoulders. And I was like, who is this giant? And played footy with my mates, mucked around, had a bit of fun, and then saw him on TV playing for the Dragons. My old man was a Dragons fan. Watched him in the grand finals in 92, 93 and stuff like that, and I was just like, I love this, and fell in love with it. So from then on, I was just like, just wanted to be around football. We moved around a fair bit as a young kid, but then settled in Parks and played a bit of footy there growing up with my mates, just all junior footy with the Parks basement, and just every weekend was dedicated to football. So grew up and just loved it. Wanted to, every day wanted to get in and rip in and play a bit of footy.
What position did you play?
Oh, mate, big fella up front. I transitioned one year from the fat prop number 8 to the 10, which was a good year. But loved it up the front row. And
so you're a Dragons man then?
I was, yeah. So it was either that.
Was?
Oh, I am. Sorry, I am. I am a Dragons. No,
okay.
I won't jump off. I'll always be there. The only time I said I'll jump off is if the Western Reds come back in, because I used to love them as well during the late 90s.
Yep.
But I'd still always have something for the Dragons. My old man was there. It was either that or the.
So did your old man play for the Dragons?
No. Okay. No. He just followed them.
Loved them.
My pop was a Bulldogs fan.
Okay.
But he jumped off them when they joined Super League. He was massive, like very traditionalist, and hated when they jumped to Super League and for the money and all that sort of stuff. So it was either them or the Bulldogs. But around that time, he was more following my dad and jumped on the Dragons. So
how's the Dragons going, bros?
Yeah, great. No, it's tough times, but hopefully, we'll have a solid year coming 10th or something this year.
So you love footy. Who was your player growing up? Like, that you just like, this is the man. Not even growing up, just overall.
Yeah, Scotty Goulet, I always say he was my favourite player, got me into football and stuff like that. Ricky Walford, anyone for the Dragons, Ricky Walford. Used to love him steaming down the sideline. And I love Joey. And, any of the big superstars, Joey, Freddie, stuff like that. But I think everyone's second team for me was like Newcastle, and watching Joey run around was pretty special. Yeah.
Mate, he is such a, when you think of like how big his mythology is, it's unrivaled. Yeah. It really is unrivaled.
Just like, he could do some special things on the field that you just don't see. Like, for a guy that was so small, putting props on their asses regularly, not just like a once off. He was, and wasn't just in my opinion, the greatest halfback. Like, he could play, hooker if he wanted to. Like, not that he did, but you could put him up in the front row and he'd do a job. You right? So
he's just. I would have loved to have seen him in today's science, like today's training science. Injury relatively free. Like, later in his career, I've got those injured. I just wonder what he'd do again. Like, because halfbacks have never been more protected.
Yep.
And it's never been easier to beat a halfback in regards to the physical side of things. It's still not easy to beat a halfback. It is incredible. But, like, could you imagine Joey with the amount of time that guys like Cleary, Moses and that have to kick now because there's no pressure?
Also wonder, like, maybe a bit of a negative, like, would it be too structured for him? He was so, like, unstructured, just off the cuff.
I reckon he'd work it out.
Oh yeah, like he was a genius.
Or do you mean more like he wouldn't enjoy it because it's like too?
I think everyone would want to be too structured.
Yeah.
But if you get the right coach and just let him be in today's game, it'd be great. Great to see, like, something.
Because, like, think about what he could do physically. Yep. Like, if he had the hectic training with all the science behind him, and also if his career went into like 35 years old.
Yep.
Far out. I just imagine him, and also the fact that he just devastated that we missed Queensland's dominance came just after he retired.
Yeah.
It's like far out.
I would have loved to see him, because, like, when you think that he was an old man when he retired because of the injuries and stuff that he had, and he'd been around so long. And it wasn't until, like, I listened to Guru, like, you didn't really see him into his 30s, right? Yeah. And imagine him lining up against, Thurston, Slater, Smith, Lockyer.
I think it changes everything
in that origin. Maybe because he was that 2005 series is the greatest. Yeah. Origin series for me.
Well, he could have, if he's played till 35, he could have made it to nearly 2009, 10.
Yeah. And does that change the landscape, right?
Surely it does.
Yeah.
Surely it does. If that happens, I truly believe it would be inarguably the greatest Origin moments in history. Like, as in the rivalry.
Yeah.
Because at the moment you look at that 8 in a row, and because they were so dominant, you just go, okay, there was a rivalry, but they just got dominated.
Yeah.
If Joey was there, it would have been
different story.
Fucking unbelievable.
Oh, take me back.
Okay, so at what age did you, I guess, know that? Did you always enjoy content? I know us growing up, we didn't really call it content.
Yep.
Did you love the internet? Did you spend a lot of time creating things? Like, when did you kind of know that you're decent at creating content?
Yeah, and when sort of the internet came about, like, I think everyone was, trying to download images of certain things, and you got inspired and wanted to get involved. But I've always had that curiosity, I think, of what can you do with this. I used to always love growing up, like taking things apart and trying to put them back together again.
Yeah.
So I think it's that curiosity of like, what's in this internet? What can you do with it? What sort of now, like social media, what can you use this for to benefit yourself and others? So I've always just had that curiosity, and I was always like mucking around on computers and just different things. But I suppose when social media blew up in the around sort of the mid 2000s, Facebook and things like that, I always had like, what can we do with this? But it wasn't until I really sort of started developing. It was when I had my eldest daughter, and I took some time off to spend with her at home, and it was just mucking around with computers, mucking around with Photoshop and video editing and things like that. And I always had some there's a guy called Tommy, MMA Tommy.
Yeah,
he's on YouTube, and he used to have this created character of this massive head, and his mouth would move up and down like a South Park character. And he'd just have his takes on MMA, and I used to love that. And I was like, how can we create that and do that with rugby league? And just started mucking around with that, and started doing some Photoshop and editing, started posting on the internet. People sort of started gravitating towards it, and eventually down the track would just I started doing some other work with some other pages, which would lead to doing work on my own. But when it sort of blew up did a video. It was like Josh Reynolds had tripped Joel Thompson in the game. Yeah. And I did a head swap with him and Desi, Paul McGregor, the coach, from a scene from The Karate Kid. And where he says, sweep the leg. And it's like Desi telling Josh, sweep the leg, and he goes in and sweeps it. And I posted that just in a Facebook group before I had the pages or anything like that. Yeah. And Bo Ryan picked it up and put it on the footy show. And that was like the very first piece of content I'd really put out there.
Yeah, wow.
So then I was like, okay, maybe I've got a little bit of a knack for it. Yeah. And so then I just stuck with rugby league, because I was doing stuff for like MMA and WWE and things like that, and just mucking around, having fun. Never really thought, I could do this for a page or do this for a job or anything like that. It was just like, hey, let's have some fun, make people laugh. And that's when it took off. So I was like, maybe I got a little bit of a knack for it. So started the roast and just went from there.
And so what jobs were you doing before you kind of got into content?
So when like playing footy and stuff like that, and always had the desire to play rugby, like play NRL. I was lucky enough to play some rep sides and Western Division and things like that out there. Got to travel to Fiji and play against the Fijian national side, under 19 side, and then had an injury. That story of like, I had an injury, I couldn't make it. But no, I was never going to make it, but I still had that passion. But yeah, I had an injury around when I was 18. And so, when you have an injury and you miss out on things like country championships and things that you would have played in, and trials that you would have had with other clubs and things, you start to get a bit, depressed, and you find alcohol and you find things like that. So went through that rough time, sort of gave up footy as well for a little bit. And then moved.
What was your injury again, sorry?
What's that?
What was your injury again?
I fractured the smallest bone you can in your wrist, and for 18 months I couldn't get full function of my wrist. I've still got the screw in there. It's because I just had to keep on going in and fixing it. So the smallest bone, you think like a big bone or something like that, but because it was so small, I just kept on getting disrupted, kept on moving it. So I missed about 18 months of footy. So it hurt, but you know, there was other things in life as well. So, moved into hospitality.
Yep.
Mum had a delicatessen, so I went and worked for her, and then moved into bars. Worked at a local pub at home, and moved up to become the bar manager there.
Yep.
So I did that for a few years, and then worked into retail. Did hospitality as well, but retail like Harvey Norman, and then became a beer rep as well.
Oh, really?
So,
what beer were you a rep for?
not a beer, sorry, alcohol rep, but not just beer. So the local place at home just wanted to get into doing alcohol, distributor.
Yeah.
So then I would just travel around the Central West and stuff like that, and go to pubs and clubs and try and sell them alcohol. So that was a decent job.
Yeah, good.
Apart from being lonely on the road and things like that, it didn't help.
Was this pre-podcasting?
Oh yeah, this was.
Because podcasting, you'd be fucking sweet. These days, you just chuck a potty on you.
Yeah, no, you just had to listen to FM radio back then.
Oh, yuck.
Terrible. No, we're talking, this would have been early 2000s. So, or mid 2000s. So, and then decided I actually needed a proper career.
Yep.
And decided to move into, my wife was working, or my partner at the time was working in finance. So I did a traineeship in finance and worked myself into a bank manager role at home. I did that for about 5 or 6 years. And it was around that time that I was doing that as a bank manager at home that I started the roast. So I was doing it on the side. Yeah. And I was starting to just get real sick of banking, and
I can imagine.
Wanted to change. And
banking and content creation, I feel like it's like literally universes apart.
Mate, you can't find content to create around banking. Like, you can't. It's not fun
like,
at all.
Yeah, how could you do it? How could you do it? Like, just inside banking jokes?
Yeah. Yeah, only people that work in banking would
get it. So you're working in banking and you're doing NRL Roast on the side. How'd you come up with the name? And like NRL Roast is very, especially back then, that's a very specific angle. That's like roasting, fun, jokes, taking the piss. Obviously, it's changed a bit over time. You evolved into quotes and, information about rugby leagues, that kind of stuff. But initially, it's purely for fun.
Yeah, 100%. So we followed this guy called MMA Roasted, a comedian, just poke fun at all the MMA stuff. So that's where I suppose the name sort of come from, but also the Comedy Central roasts. Yeah. You've seen like the one Charlie Sheen and Donald Trump and Pamela Anderson, all that sort of stuff. So massive on them. And it was just like, everyone taking the piss out of each other. And that's what we'd sit there and do. We'd be sitting there watching footy, taking the piss out of each other and the players, and in a fun way, not like bagging them, but, locker room stuff, right? Yeah. Stuff that you'd say in the locker room. So that's where the name sort of come about and just stuck. It was, initially, it was, you'd probably go a little bit harder, but then as your reach starts to get bigger. Yeah,
and also I think I assume you know the players to a degree as well. Does
I know that like some of them follow the page and stuff like that, or share it. So it's like they're seeing it, right? Yeah, so you don't want to.
Have you had any issues with players?
Oh yeah, 100%.
Oh really?
And the thing is, I've always done it from trying to be funny. Yeah, right? I've done it in a way that would try and make them laugh. But at the same time, like, my humour's not, not everyone's like that. Yeah. Not everyone likes the piss taken out of them.
And from their perspective, it's like, this is my life's work. Like, this is like everything I've worked my life for, and you're taking the piss out of an error or something that's happened.
Yeah. Or like, I think I've quoted someone, like a senior player in the game, and he come in my DMs like calling me a coward and things like that. You
quoted them?
I actually got the quote wrong.
Oh, okay.
And I apologised and put out a thing saying I got it wrong, but it just never repaired and stuff like that. And I found out players have blocked the page and things like that, and it always makes me wonder, why? What have I done? Yeah. But I don't hang up on it. Yeah. I'm not crying myself to sleep overnight. Like, it's just...
Do you see yourself as like... Because it says by a fan, for a fan, you're like, you see yourself more as, I'm a fan, so I'm going to speak like a fan does to his mates. And if there are players that don't like it, then that sucks. But at the same time, that's not the perspective I'm coming from. There's
certain things that that you need to address and you need to talk about, or give your opinion on, right? But when it comes like a short quote or a 30-second post or something like that, is different to what you do with a podcast where you talk about it for an hour, or you can actually explain in depth. So it's like, sometimes that 30-second post is taken a bit out of context. But, like, if people have had issues they've come to me, I've addressed it, and or certain things are wrong, and I've put out retractions and said, okay, I was wrong on this one. You've got to own up to it.
Yeah.
But like I said, I've always just been a fan, trying to get a fan's perspective on sport and on the great game of rugby league.
Yeah. It's when your first little run-in with a player, were you rattled? Because it was like early days. Yeah. You think you just don't realise the reach that you have and the stuff that gets out there. So I feel like it's like, I mean, I don't know, but I feel like now it seems like now you've got a pretty good balance. I feel like I don't feel like there's like a negative stigma towards the players. Again, I don't know because I'm not in the stretching sheds, but it seems like you've found that real sweet spot of humour, but I don't know. Am I wrong?
No, you're right. Yeah. So like, if you go back to off-field incidences in the past, like say 5 years ago, we might have addressed it and had a funny take on it or whatever.
Yeah.
Where now it's like, okay, it's probably a little bit more serious. Maybe don't touch on it. Just let it go through the keeper.
Yeah.
Maybe talk about another area that might sort of mention it, like in a way.
Yep.
But don't address it like intently.
Yeah.
So it just changes the way. Like again, with the growth of the page, you've got to be careful of what you target because there's defamation and things like that. A lot of people will take it the wrong way. So just trying to find that balance is, it's been a learning curve as well.
It was a learning curve for me too. I used to be, I wouldn't say, I mean, I was never negative or anything like that, but I would care less about what I was saying. Like I'd just be like, oh, this is funny, or I want to say this. And as you get bigger, you realise, and people go, oh, well, then you're changing the way you do things. It's actually not true. You're just getting smarter at the way it's being delivered.
Correct, yeah.
So I have strong opinions, but they're just said in a way that softens the blow a little bit so that it's not so hurtful to the player or whatever. I
can give you a couple of examples. So we used to do some like fake tweets. Back when PT was playing Origin, there was that they'd won a game or something, and we put out a fake tweet. He was big on Twitter at the time, and put out a fake tweet from him saying like he celebrated with a certain player and a certain animal that was referenced at the time, but it was in a fun way as well. It wasn't derogatory. He even said he saw it and he goes, "Look, it's funny, but it's not me."
Yeah, so
because it got picked up by Fox Sports as real and stuff like that, and we're like, "Shit, I could be in big trouble here." But he came out and just said, "Look, it was funny, but it's not me." So he took it in a good way. There was another one we did about another player, and then we had an agent come in saying they were going to sue us because of this. So it's like in a very similar vein as well, in a comedic way. So, players can just, can take it the wrong way, can not see the humour in it, don't like the piss taken out of them. Like you said, that's their career. Yeah. And it's just trying to find that right balance, finding the right players as well. Like if we have players interacting, I say we, it's just me too. So I always say we for some reason.
Roasty's got a team behind him. Yeah. I've been hoodwinked this whole time.
Yeah. It's just finding the right balance and finding the right players, the ones that interact with the page. I tend to, obviously like the humour and stuff. So, if we happen to see a player like it and comment or whatever, then we might down the track, do something funny with them. And take the piss out of them because they like it. So.
Yeah. It's again, it's just all about learning because you can, like, there's no one on NRL Roast page right now going, oh, it's not as funny as it used to be. It's like, no, it's still as funny. It's just everything is delivered in probably just not a safer way. Safe is the wrong word, but just a more thought out way, I'd assume.
Yeah. There's ways like with TikTok now is like getting yourself in front of the camera a little bit more. Like I never hid away from, I'm Dean Messenger and I own this page. So if anyone had an issue, I said, my name's Dean and you can contact me here or whatever. I never hid away, tried to hide or anything. But I had a family and stuff like that. And I'd had issues with other pages and things like coming through and sending derogatory stuff and stalking and things like that.
Really?
Yeah. It was the guy that had NRL memes, which was had the issue with Mark Guy. This is a funny story. So when he came out, because he'd posted the images and stuff of the stuff dealing with Mark Guy's family, and we'd had issues about content stealing and things. So I'd been going back and forth. He actually posted up on his page that I owned NRL memes and I was the one posting all this stuff. And I could have, like, you know, sued for defamation, all that sort of stuff. But I was like, at the time, it was like just stressful. And I had because he'd posted that, I had this phone call like 10 o'clock at night. So it was like a Thursday night or something. Actually had a good night out for dinner. Was keen to throw the leg over with the missus. And at 10 o'clock, I'm getting this phone call. Yeah. And I check the voicemail, and it's, "Hey, Dean, Mark Guy here. Oh, no. I think you need to call me straight back."
Yeah, okay.
So then I'm like, fuck, what am I going to do? Yeah. So pick up the phone, ring him. I called it over with him and told him the whole story and things like that. And then, you know, he worked out his side of it. But, yeah, there was issue with him because of this content stealing. He stalked my family. Stalked my page. I found out all this information about me, stuff that was easily accessible via the internet, and I hadn't been as careful in what I'd posted and things like that. So that's why I've hid away for a long time, because I was like, I've got kids. I don't want them hearing about this sort of stuff or whatever. So, but I've never hit, like, now it's starting to, you know, obviously get bigger and thing. Like I was saying with TikTok, you put your face to it. So I've, you know, starting to get my face out there a bit more and do more content like that.
Man, I just put the beak straight out there, baby.
Yeah.
Straight out there. I mean, it's a bit hard, obviously, played for NRL and that. Yeah, that's
what your page has always been about, right? It's been you're the bloke in the bar.
Yeah, for sure.
The podcast where mine's content. It's not a podcast. It's like we do a podcast now mainly for content, right?
Yeah.
But it's always just been trying to do funny stuff.
Yeah. Far out. That's something that you don't really think about. On the internet, especially as for someone like yourself who it was basically just all about the content rather than your own your personality is in the content. But you know what I'm saying. Man, that must have been. Did you think, mate, this is not for me? Like, fuck this. I don't want to deal with this shit.
Yeah, like I contemplated several times, like shutting the page down, and that's why I do it every year. Like for 2 weeks every year, I just shut the page down.
Yep.
This meant, like, you know, take it off, like you can take it offline so people can't find it.
Yeah.
And just go away with the family and just forget about it and clear the head and everything like that.
Because I've always been like, what the hell? NRL Roast is gone. Yeah. Is he fucking been kidnapped and he's in Tahiti or something?
Yeah, well, I've always thought about, like, should I post up something saying I'm
yeah, you don't want to be that guy.
But you don't want to be that guy, right? So I was like, I'm just going to shut down.
Yeah. I think
it's always good coming back and everyone goes, "Oh, where have you been?"
Yeah. I will say, though, now that you've got your podcast, and I'm not sure how big it is, that's probably somewhere where you probably do need to, because you become part of someone's life. Like, if I took 2 weeks off and just stopped on the podcast, the guys would be going, "Kerry, where the fuck are you?"
Yeah. Well, I think our numbers are starting to rival yours, so maybe I might have to think about that.
But I agree. Like, when it comes to just social media, you don't go, "Oh, hey guys, I'm leaving. I'll be back in 2 weeks."
But also at the same time, you're running a page that some people come to for entertainment.
Yeah, for sure.
Daily, weekly, whatever.
Day better, right?
So when they come to it and it's not there, it's like, "Oh, what's happened?" And not everyone knows that I do that, right?
Yeah.
So there's, you know, obviously, you know, people that are intent followers go, "Okay, he's shutting it down" or whatever. But
has the NRL been quite accepting, or has it taken time to grow that relationship?
Oh, yeah, it took time. So
took time for me too.
Hey,
it took time for me too.
So look, when I first started, I was at war with them. Like, we wanted to push content. Like, you look at the NBA, the NFL, they sort of just let everyone anyone post content. Like, if you're an average Joe, another media company, whatever it is.
And to be fair, they're quite forward thinking.
Correct.
Compared to most, you know, for example, the UFC, fuck, you put something up for them, you're getting stung.
Correct, yeah. So, like, I'd put out content and then it'd get taken down. And I remember in the early days, I put up something, it was a video, and they came back to me saying, you'll have to take that down. For some reason, they couldn't do it. And I just went back to them with the copyright laws saying fair use. And they actually came back saying, "I'll get back to you on that one." And then a week later, they come back and went, "Okay, I can stay up." So I was like, they don't even really know the copyright laws. And
they didn't. Like, as in, this would be 5 years ago.
Yeah, I'm talking like 5-6 years ago when I was first doing it.
Yeah.
And I was like, they don't really know about it. So maybe I can get away with a little bit more. So then I'd start pushing the boundaries. But it was like, I'm not posting up a half a game of football.
Yeah.
I'm posting a funny crowd shot or the referee falling over or a player doing some funny whatever it was, right, and mixing it with something else. So
and like really outside of like, yes, you could generate income eventually, but you actually aren't stopping them from generating money. You're actually helping them generate more revenue.
Correct. You're promoting it for them, promoting it for the other media places as well, because they'll see that like not even a highlight. They'll see that clip and go, hold on, what's that from? And they'll try and source it out.
The way I see it as well, and to be clear for all listeners, NRL have come a long way. Like they're, well, for me anyway, they're great to deal with. And initially, I didn't have run-ins like that, but they just didn't speak to me. And it was only, I think, 2 years ago they reached out. So they're really, really good. I mean, I work with them now. I actually do TikToks from them. But the way I see it is this. Like, imagine how much the AFL would fucking kill to have the AFL Roast, Bloke In A Bar, you know, the other pages, Roo. Like, they don't really... They've obviously got... Dylan Buckley has started to lean a bit more into it podcasting-wise, but they don't have any of that.
They're starting to get a bit more. There's like a few smaller pages that you see starting to come through. But even that, they're not about the game itself. It's more about outside the game or like around the game. Very rarely I see like a highlight from the AFL or something funny happen on the pitch on the AFL. But I suppose I don't follow that many AFL pages either.
Well, the way I see it as well is like, okay, league fans listening right now, imagine if like, you know, I disappeared, you disappeared, you know, Roo disappeared. Like, think about how less engaged you'd be with the game. 18 to 35-year-old male or woman as well. They would be super, like, way less engaged with the game. I'd be less engaged with the game,
100%.
because we don't consume the game the way 45 to 50. Like, I don't go down and get the Telegraph every morning and go, oh, what's going on here? Like, I go on Instagram or Facebook, and get my news from Roasty or whoever, you know.
Or if there's been plenty of time, like you obviously watch plenty of football, right? But there's Saturday nights that you want to go out for dinner with the missus or do something different, right?
Well, actually.
Do you do it like me? Do you just shut yourself off in like from Thursday to Sunday?
Well, so when we met, and I'm glad that I met her when I was a bit older of a man, because then I could tell her exactly what I expecting standards. Whereas when I was younger, I would have been like so like shocked that such a hot chick was even interested that I would just be like, whatever you want, man. I told her like, this is my career, and you know, if you want to live an extraordinary life, you must be willing to do what other people aren't. And one of those things is, if we're at dinner and the footy's on, the phone is on the table and I'm watching the footy. And she has literally never complained once. Matter of fact, we were in Paris. So we're in Paris and we go to this restaurant that is, honestly, I needed a mortgage to pay for this shit. Couldn't believe it when the bill came. So the crazy, like all these people go to this restaurant, but the problem was Australia versus New Zealand was on. So I had to have this. So anyway, so I'm in this fucking 17,000 star restaurant, and I'm watching she's actually got a video of it. I'm watching Australia versus New Zealand, Cam Murray, hot boy, just doing his thing. And all the waiters and waitresses were filthy at me because they're like, it's a crazy Michelin restaurant, and I'm watching sport, and they're like, you know, I'm with this beautiful woman, and apparently I'm an arrogant piece of shit. I was like, hey, this is what got this friggin' restaurant, motherfuckers. So let's just relax. But anyway, I digress. It's not about me. It's about you. But
I've got a similar. For my honeymoon, we went over to Europe in 2010, and it was poorly planned. Finals time.
Yep.
It was around
very
September.
poorly planned.
Very poorly planned. But I didn't plan it. And we were getting back the week before the grand final, but we were over there for the preliminary finals, and Dragons played West Tigers in the prelim, and meant to do a tour around Venice, and I just slipped off the tour, found this internet cafe, and you couldn't watch it. But all I was watching, I was sitting there in this internet cafe, just watching the score update on
No way. In Venice.
In Venice. Everyone else is doing a tour around Venice. I'm just sitting there just watching the score update. Like, I'm not even watching the game. Just watching the score tick over. Like,
no way. So, wow. Wow, that is great. And so there's obviously, you know, the missus is okay with it because you do it. Otherwise you wouldn't do it.
Oh, no. Shout out to the missus, because she's been so understanding.
Yeah.
Initially, it was obviously a shock to the system. Like, okay, I've got to now watch, you know, football from Thursday to Sunday, and there's not much that gets done. Like, everything's planned around football season. Yeah. So we don't do much during, but it's fine. Like, you'd rather do stuff during summer anyway, right? Stay in during the colder months, and but yeah, she's so understanding, and I have the kids and stuff that I can now do stuff during the week with them and just focus on the footy. And It's hard to call it a job sometimes, but yeah.
I know it's very hard to call it a job. It's funny, when I was like younger, or not even younger, when I was from like 18 to like 25 or so, whenever people would do speeches, like athletes would get awards or a movie star would get an award or whatever, they'd be like, I just want to thank my wife, like I wouldn't be here without her, and she's so good. And I always be like, man, shut up, man. It's you that got that role. It's you that did the work. It's not until you actually have a wife or a long-term partner that supports you that you realize, oh, hang on a sec, they're 100% right.
100%,
if I didn't have this incredible support, there's no way I would have the luxury of doing what I'm doing.
Yeah. Like the thing is too, like I said, she's understanding that that's where the majority of money comes from now. But I'm also, instead of working a 9 to 5 where I couldn't go to the kids' assemblies, I couldn't drop them off at school and pick them up. If they're sick, they can come home with me.
Yeah.
But also, like, recently I had some work up in the Gold Coast to do. I took the family up there.
Yeah.
Booked the hotel with them. They had a bit of a holiday away. Got work.
Gold Coast, God's country, baby.
Yeah.
God's country.
And also got my oldest daughter involved. Like, she's picking up the mic and she's starting to get involved, which is
That's
like
awesome.
a very special moment. Like,
Yeah.
I have some pretty good moments throughout the roast.
Yep.
But that's probably a highlight. Is now I've got my daughter who's starting to get the same sense of humour as me as well.
Yeah.
So, I call her Little Roasty.
Yeah.
And even the people that I was working for, I call her that, and she's there talking to people.
That's
and
hectic.
So it's
That's so good.
That's the benefit of it, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And I wouldn't have that if, the wife didn't sacrifice a lot for me to do it. So yeah.
It's funny you say that because my baby Rain will be joining the panel of the Monday Review Show next year.
Can't wait for the insights.
His head drooling everywhere. And I'm
You
like,
just sit him up and then just have like a mouth moving, like superimpose the mouth.
and it's Cooper Cronk and Matty John's hectic insight, and it's a mouth moving on his thing. Wow, Rain really knows rugby league for a 1-year-old. Yeah, very, very supportive partners. So anyone enjoying the Roasty's content, just pour one out for the wife. Say thank you.
Correct. Yeah.
Say thank you.
Cheers.
Okay, so you start the page, and it's building momentum. At what point did you go, oh shit, this is actually, gonna be something and having an impact on the rugby league culture?
It blew up so quick. When I first started, 2017. I think within the first, it was mainly Facebook focused then. Within the first 12 months, I had like 50,000 followers. And I was looking at the other pages, I'm like, I'm quarter of the way there. And they've been doing it for, since 2010 or something like that. So I was like, oh, this is, starting to take off. And I knew it very early. Again, when I first started, it was just posting, what I thought was funny. I saw other pages, they just post the same old shit, which was, Bulldogs would lose. They put up a packet of tissues with the Bulldogs logo. And I was just like, I saw that multiple times. Like, there's so much more we can do. And I was a fan of like Bleacher Report and, like I said, Tommy Toehold, that would do other creative stuff with the head swaps, and that's where I had a bit of an angle. So, I'd have something prepped, like storyline wise, what was happening in that game, and even have it prepped ready to go right on full time. So that was always my advantage was. I was very quick at it. My wife hates that I was quick as well, but that's another story.
It's an advantage for you, not for her.
Yes. And so, like, I knew from very early on that, what I had was a little bit different and a different angle than what other people were doing.
Where do you source? Because it's not like you just have it all sitting on a hard drive, I'd assume. Where do you source all of your stuff from? Like, I know there's a page that you can go to where you can type in, like, funny, and like memes will come up, like GIFs will come up, and you can just like pick this. Where do you source all your stuff? Because it happens quite, as you said, quickly. Yeah,
there's one I found recently was like a movie quote database. So if I have something in my head that's like a quote, then I'll search that and find what movies are from. Or it's just that, I love movies. I love watching all these different comedies and stuff like that. Spoof stuff where they're taking the piss out of each other as well. That works. And it's funny, like now, I can't watch a movie without making 5 or 6 references on my phone. Like this time when he says this, that could be used for X, Y, Z. That's where the database is now. It's like just referencing stuff that I've recently seen, and the culture's changed so much now. It's so many like memes have just taken over, and different formats of different memes and things like that. But back in the early days, it was just watching a movie, finding a funny part from it, remembering to use that for a certain result. Yeah. So like if a team come back or a team choked, whichever angle you wanted to take. Yep. I'd always have a scene ready for that,
ready to go,
and just or either have reference points within a video made, and then I could just add the heads in, and so then it might only take 10 or 15 minutes of editing at the end of the game to get it out as soon as possible.
It's because like when I was pretty heavily, not heavily into memes, but every single picture you see or something that happens, you go, boom, that could be a meme. Boom, that could be a meme. And honestly, it nearly ruins your experience because what you're thinking about is that could be a meme. Now, obviously, we don't do as many anymore. We still do it sometimes, but more time goes into obviously the podcast and that. Okay, so you would have been at, I don't know, you hit about 50,000, but then 50,000 is very different to obviously like 200,000. And I guess you're getting people that are regularly coming to your page and that. Is that... When did you get to quit your full-time job and just go, this is what I can do full-time, freelance and that kind of stuff?
Mate, it was like fate. So started the page in 2017, February 2017, and in February 2019, I was made redundant at the bank I was working at. Yep. And at that point, like, I just did not want to be there. I actually threw the interview hoping that I'd get made redundant because I wanted to try and go into content. I knew that if I was made redundant, I could probably do 12 months, even if I didn't get paid a single cent, that I could last 12 months of doing content and hopefully make some money from that. I threw the interview, like went in and just was like, yeah, whatever, this, that. And then my boss came out and was like, it was such a close decision between you two. Like, fuck, the other guy must have been. No, he's a good friend. The other guy got it, and he's doing so well there. But and the day I got made redundant, the very next day I had a phone call from a friend saying, mate, we know you're doing stuff with the roast, but would you be interested in doing some work with us? And I was like, this is just fate. So told him I was made redundant. Did some work with them for about 3 months. Yeah. Went to I finished up at my bank the week of Magic Round, the very first Magic Round.
No way.
And I was like, I'm taking a couple of weeks off, going to Magic Round, just enjoying myself. Yeah. End up meeting the team that I was doing some contract work for, and they came to me with a contract just saying, the stuff I was doing before that was just ad hoc. I'd throw them some stuff every week, and they'd send me some money. It wasn't a contract situation, but I met them at Magic Round, and they were like, "We want to offer you a contract for 6 months until the end of the year." I was like, "This is perfect." So did that, and I've been with them for 5 years now, just doing contract work with them, which has enabled me to then continue doing the roast and build that up to have partnerships of its own and things like that.
Where do you think? What's the next step for the roast in regards to, I know you stepped more into podcasting to a degree, and as you know in content, you've always got to be evolving. If you get stale, you can get comfortable and get stale, but you've always podcasting's a little bit different because like you listen to a podcast, like radio shows have lasted 20 years, so that's a little bit different. But online, in the internet, you've got to keep it fresh. What's the next step?
To be honest, I don't know. Yeah, and I think that's probably a good. I'll just whatever is a trendy thing to do in 12 months' time, then if that fits the thing that I want to do, then I'll jump in with that. Yeah. I just want to keep creating. The best thing about it is that because I have a content contractor, do content via contract elsewhere, and just be able to do this by myself, it enables me just to find partners that want to create similar content. So not just run ads and things and nothing wrong with running ads and things like that, but ads on social...
You just nearly made him lose his job.
Yeah. Ads on social media are totally different to ads on podcasting and things like that. You need ads on podcasting to keep it going. Yeah. Ads on social media, people pick up so quickly that it's an ad. Yeah. Whereas if you do a branded content and send, I might go to Magic Round and go around asking people some random questions, but it's sponsored by XYZ and doing that. That's what I want to do, is continue building those partnerships with brands that have similar.
Well, I try to when I deal with companies, I try to explain it like it's like a Trojan horse method, where basically they think they're getting this cool, fun content. Like, perfect example, Menu Log. Mate, the engagement with the Menu Log sponsorship we have on the podcast is unbelievable. Hungriest player of the week. It is genuinely like shocking how engaged people are to it. They like the amount of people that actually enjoy it. It's just exactly what you said. It's because they're getting something that they can enjoy. But rather than going, you know, Menu Log is the best, you know, this, that, and the next thing, they're actually getting something for it.
Correct, yeah. So this year I did Roasty's Rewind, which was a recap of the week's games. Thanks to one of the TV partners. And that enabled me to get some vision as well, which has been such a, you would know, been such a tough.
I just stayed away from it. Vision for me, like now I've got permission now. As I said, the NRL have been fantastic, and you know I've got permission to do it now. But yeah, it used to be tough.
So it's talking about being tough. Like I recreated when they wanted to do the bring back Tina Turner, Simply the Best. I did a mashup of that, saying we like the old ad with new footage. And just, it was a promotion, like, and put it out there. Promoting. And everyone loved it. Had an email from them saying, you need to take it down, you've got 5 days. So I got the shits big time. This is probably not my best moment, but I took that down and I added in all the bad stuff that happened around rugby league. So it was like players getting arrested, players, whatever it was.
Oh, no.
And I was like, I regret it now. I'm trying to help.
I'm promoting the game.
I got angry and just did that. And it actually went better than the original.
Oh,
and then I was like, but then they couldn't do anything about it because it wasn't using any new footage.
It's so, you know, as I said, like I've got a really good relationship with the NRL. They're in such a weird spot because it's actually not them that is really, well, usually it's not them that's anal about that. It's actually the networks.
Correct, yeah.
Saying to them, we pay hundreds of millions of dollars for that footage, and you've just allowed some nobody in a fucking garage or an ex-player or whatever. I mean, they're both nobodies. The Beak was nobody before the Bloke In A Bar started. You know, just use the content. And so what are we paying for then? So they just
100%. I understand where they come from. It is just frustrating because you see how much it's built up other sports and how well they've done. And the fact that you're actually doing it for free, trying to help promote the game.
Well, put it this way. Do you know how, like, let's say 4 years ago, KO came to us, and I'm just using KO randomly, and said, you can use all our footage whenever you want. All you got to do, because I think I even reached out to him anyway, because I said, look, just allow us to use the footage, but we'll put a watermark in saying subscribe to KO. Do you know how many people we could have got to sign up to KO if they had done that 5-6 years ago? Like, genuinely, hundreds of thousands. And it would have been free for them at the time. At the time, obviously, it's going to cost something now, but you know, but at the time it would have been free. And it's because it's promoting the game. It's promoting the game.
Yeah, like how hard is it now for them, or how much money do they spend now on social media marketing? That could have been for free.
And when there was that massive crackdown and all the like little highlight pages got smashed and deleted, that was sad because that was genuinely like teenagers in school, a lot of teenagers that love rugby league putting up highlights of Kalen Ponga, and just got smashed.
I remember that was the reason on Facebook I was the NRL Roast. I had to change it to Roasted Rugby League. And then for some reason the Instagram never got hit or anything like that. But now the Facebook, I think you might have the same issue. You can't change it. You're the locker room.
I can't change it to Bloke In A Bar.
You can't change it because you get to a certain amount of followers and things that you can't change it. But it's still Roasted Rugby League, the NRL Roast. It's close enough.
What I will say is like, I was similar to you, a few years ago where it'll piss me off. Like I'd be like, are you serious? Like I'm helping the game. Trust me. Like without guys like us, 18 to 30-year-olds are going to disengage from the game. I promise you. But when you actually meet the people, you know, at the NRL or KO or Nine or whatever, and they explain their side, even though you're like, look, I still disagree, you can understand where they're coming from as well. It's like anything in life. When you actually sit down and speak with them, you usually come away with going, look, I disagree, but I understand what you're saying.
I think social media's come a long way.
Massively.
You can actually, if something's out there on the internet now, then you can use it. You can, and if they want to send a thing to say that you can't, you can actually, there's a box that you can tick saying it's actually out in the, I forget the exact wording, but it's like out in the open area that you're using it and you're giving credit to the original creator. As long as you put that in the description, you're right.
You're sweet. No, I reckon it's probably been the last 2 or 3 years, I think they've been really good. Everyone, Nine, KO, Fox, I think everyone's been quite
starting
good.
to get it. They're starting to get social media.
For sure. And understand that, like, you know, and look, we're nowhere near as big as like Nine, NRL or KO, so I'm not sitting there saying that. But also understanding that, like, we're here to help, and we're really reasonable. Like, if you know, we'll work with you. We want to work with you. So I personally think in this area, NRL is actually much better than the AFL in like the social media content area.
Yep.
When you include myself, the great Roo, I actually think NRL's got a leg up on the AFL. As a game, AFL obviously is in a better position because they've got the stadium and blah, blah, blah. But I reckon content-wise, I reckon NRL's quite a ways ahead at the moment.
It's actually like probably one of the best things to view on social media, like the highlights, hits, the acrobatic tries. AFL's you want to go there to the game and watch it live. The TV is not that great.
Well, I even mean like, the highlights, but I'm talking about the content that's created. Like who in the AFL is creating memes every day about the AFL? Like that's a big page like that does it on a regularly consistent basis. Like not really.
There's not many. No.
There's not many. Like who in the NRL is an alternative way to get your news, but also a bit of fun stuff. Not really in the AFL that I'm aware of. And to be in NRL and Nine, KO and Fox's defence, like they could have gone even harder if they wanted it to. You know what I mean? And they didn't. And that's what's created the environment which has allowed us to be where we're at.
Yeah.
But I agree, in regards to the highlights, I agree with you too. It's actually the big reason why I think the UFC has grown so quickly is because it is the perfect sport for social media. The perfect sport. Now, I know I know they sting you and they don't allow you to post any knockouts and that, but a 15-second clip of a bloke getting knocked out or choked out and that, it's like the best content in the world.
I think recently they had a UFC event that they actually sent out things saying if you want to clip anything from this up, you can.
Oh,
so it
really?
was like a test thing.
Yeah.
Because we got an email and it was like, so the company that I contract to, they got an email saying that if you want to use anything in there, go for it.
Yeah, okay.
Because normally it'd be shut down or whatever.
Yeah.
So we everyone gather around, like let's work out as soon as this is over, what could we do afterwards and get some content out for it. And I think they actually came back saying the numbers on that were phenomenal. So hopefully it'll change.
I remember I had an interview with Volkanovski 3 or 4 years ago, maybe even 5 years ago, and it was just talking about his fight, and it was just in the background, like a 2-minute highlight clip of the fight he was talking about. My page got shut down for 3 days.
Yeah, crazy.
And I'd never been struck before, nothing. They had so much power that it got shut down for 3 days.
Yep.
Far out, I was stinging. It's absolutely stinging.
I've also had an interview with Alex Volkanovski on Roasty podcast.
Mate, I ask all the boys this. Favourite rapper of all time?
Favourite rapper? I can't go past probably Dr. Dre or Eminem.
Yeah.
For me, it's a tie between those two. They were probably the most influential ones that I listened to. I was probably a bit late to Dre when I started getting into it.
Yeah.
You go back and listen to it, but then Eminem was just starting.
Yeah.
And then you follow that.
Yeah.
You feel a bit more connected.
Yep.
But yeah.
Favourite movie of all time?
So tough with so many different genres, right? I'll say my favourite. I love all the spoof movies. Anything by Mel Brooks. One of my favourites there is an old one you might know, but it's Blazing Saddles. Back in the might even be the 70s. Hilarious and a little bit of a humorous take on some of the racial issues and things of the time.
Yep.
But other than that, it's probably Good Will Hunting.
Oh, it's a great movie. Great movie. Robin Williams in that and Matt Damon.
That's Robin Williams' best performance.
Oh, mate. Just that speech he gives him. What about when he's talking about how you don't know anything about pain or suffering, and when he talks about his wife and that, unbelievable.
Yeah.
Mate, such a good role. And just quickly before we finish, you're a huge WWE fan. What's your thoughts about WWE right now?
It's starting to build back up.
Yeah.
So creatively, Vince has been, overshadowing a lot of it, and now he's sort of moved on, and Triple H has come in, and Triple H is he's my greatest wrestller of all time.
Better than wrestler. Austin 316.
Yeah, I love so there's
Stone Cold. Come on, bros.
Yeah.
He's the GOAT.
316. I love Triple H because he was the best heel of all, at the time, but he could also be the best good guy. So,
yeah, okay.
That's what I loved about him. But Yeah, so he's gone. Triple H is in. He's such a student of the game. He knows it. He gets it so well.
Yeah.
And I can just see some of the stuff that he's doing will eventually bring it back up to be what it once. Like, it'll never be the 90s, like the late 90s, early 2000s, because we had two rival things. It's starting to get there, and I think it'll be close. And when you have good rivalry, you get the best out of both companies. So there's AEW and WWE, probably the two big ones, and I just see them starting to flourish.
All right, mate, thanks so much for coming on. I appreciate it, and mate, I'm sure we'll have you on again soon.
Thanks, mate. It's been a pleasure.
Boom, Dunskies, thank you.